it'll be good for all of you to get to know better about our program directors. So I'm going to be inviting our program director to introduce the speaker. First will be Liz Page, comment director.
Hello, I'm Liz Page. I'm the director of the comment program, and it's my pleasure today to introduce Dr. Tim Spangler. I first met Tim almost 25 years ago at an AMS meeting when I had applied to take on one of the Weather Service positions at Comet. And I was actually introduced to Tim by Tom Graziano, who's also speaking this afternoon. So it's one big happy weather family here. Tim was the comment director for 21 years. He spent 23 years with UCAR. And he is responsible for building the program that Comet is today. It was through his guidance and through his vision that we developed into the program that we are. And if you look at his bio that's in the program, you can see that he brought a unique talents to this position in that he had 13 years of experience in private industry. So he came with a very entrepreneurial approach to meeting sponsors, developing our funding, and along with that, he had 6 years of experience in the academic community as a professor. So he also had the credentials to show that we could make very strong, scientifically based training for the operational workforce. Now, Tim was a part of UCP before it was actually UCP, it was actually UOP, and he has also been very active with the Unidata program. I want to get this right, Tim. Which he served on the Unidata Policy Committee for 25 years. And for those of you who are familiar with the Unidata conference room, they have pennants on the walls of all the partner universities. And the claim to fame is that Northern Illinois University, where Tim was a faculty member, was the first pennant that was part of that collection. So Tim remains active. He's been retired for 5 years now, but he remains active in the AMS, and he's chairing the Board of Best Practices currently. And if you get him talking, he will tell you about how he has made retirement look very attractive with all of his camping excursions. So please help me welcome Tim Spangler as our first speaker.
Well, what fun to come back. It was, I just became a casual comment again, and I have a key card. I could just walk into the building. It just felt so good to do that. And what felt really good was that there's a phone list on the door for the building, and it still lists me as director. Yeah. And it's fun to see everybody here and meet old friends, and it's a lot of fun. This first picture, I was looking through the archives and had help from Carly and others, and this is Unidata. Don't know exactly the year. I see Sandra there, but early 90s. But they're quite a eclectic group, and formed in 1983 at a university meeting in Madison. And then and have gone on to be this shining example of what a program can do serving the universities. I just do want to point out, a few of you will know what this is about, is that they're not very good at softball, however, and the score was 36-12 in the only interprogrammatic softball game we've ever had. I see a player over there, yes. So the thing is that the genesis, as Tony mentioned, is programs that came to UCAR, were created at UCAR as early as 1981. Karen Sawyer tells me that JOS really began in 1981 with Stan Ruttenberg, and Unidata was 1983, a university meeting, which is typical of how these programs have happened. Bill asked me to just talk about the early years. And so any slights about not including Globe and NSDL and Delisi and a lot of programs from the middle years, you have my apologies. I also don't do PowerPoints very often anymore. And so how do I make this advance? How about the return key? Any ideas? I hit the arrows. Oh, well, so I'll do the talk with just the Unidata committee, staff. Sean. Oh, it's that. Okay. Thank you. It was hiding. I do PowerPoints occasionally for volunteer fire departments. Has been a recent kind of a thing that I enjoy doing. So what are the attributes of UCAR programs? Obviously, it's not softball, but it is being nimble is to me is important because you have to be able to respond to changes in your program. You have to be innovative, and we know that so many programs we have examples of how to be innovative. You have to be entrepreneurial, and that is something that I always enjoy, and you have to have university governance. So the result of this are programs that are designed to serve, and they serve agencies, they serve universities, they serve the public, if you will. The Globe is an example of serving the public. Some strengths, because as we went into these programs over the years, we know that sometimes it was risky, and the COMET program is an example of being risky. When I became director, Bill Bonner, the first director, told me to don't stay very long because it wouldn't last, right? Have to be challenging. The idea of how to make field programs work for the university community and agencies was something that Josh was challenged with. Experimental. We've talked about the digital libraries, for example. But UNAVCO becoming the COSMIC program is another example of experimental, and sometimes short-lived. That thing there is supposed to be a turkey at Thanksgiving time. But there are a few programs in our history that have been very short-lived. So some of the motivations, oops, there we go. So why do agencies want to come to UCAR for a program? They want to tap the academic expertise. Example is Bill Bonner and Rick Anthony's creating the Visiting Scientist Program. And another is the National Weather Service modernizing their weather service, modernizing their workforce, using the university community to better train their workers. Universities, they want to be able to adapt to technology. Unidata is the classic example of that. COMET produced kind of very leading edge distance learning techniques that are widely used today among universities. We had a consultant, a very well-known consultant, come to COMET in the late 90s, and they said, you're not cutting edge, but you can see the edge from where you are. And that was, I thought, about where we should be. And another thing is helping to prepare graduates for technology-enhanced careers, something that many of the UCAR programs do. Why does UCAR want to do this? Well, UCAR is a trusted agent in the university community. The agencies trust the financial management, for example, at a very basic level like that. But they know there's a structure in place that can make these programs happen. And UCAR was formed, the UCAR programs was formed really as a low overhead umbrella for projects and programs. We did this very much on purpose. Only cookies at management meetings, nothing, no prime rib. But some things never change. I put up a slide about why not in NCAR, and several of my colleagues comment, well, you can't say that. But it was a real considerations, right? So I think that we have to talk a little bit about that. There was some worry that the program would compete with universities. Some worry about competition between universities. I know that in 1989, Bill Bonner checked with several universities. Would they like to host the COMET program? And they both said no, but they didn't want anybody else to do it. They wanted it to be at UCAR. And then independence from NCAR management. And a big part, of course, is the low overhead rate, where you deliberately keep a low overhead rate. Certainly feeling that UNAVCO was, and some of you don't know what that is, it was a program to support geological field studies. It's kind of a simple way to say it, I think. Wasn't a good fit with NCAR, but for historical reasons, NCAR and its GPS reliance, UNAVCO, led to the COSMIC program. So it was very experimental and very successful. The counterexample to this is RAL. Once in a while, I think that if I had to do my career over, I would want to come back as Bill Mahoney, because RAL and stuff does so many interesting things. He and I were both Wyoming graduates. Exciting things in RAL, and RAL has some attributes that are a bit like a UCAR program. So UOP is born, and you can see that there's at least two people in the picture that are still here. You've got Meg, it's over there, and Ellen Martinez. There were a long list of programs that were merged into UOP the summer of 1992. And this is just a screen grab from the UCAR newsletter. The Southern Occident Study, SOS, is an example of a very short-lived study. So, and some pictures of early staff. The early staff there with Karen on the upper left, and Jean Martin, Unidata. I think I see Tom over there, and Russ and others. The COMET program, the only one in the room looks like Hannah is in that picture. And the UCAR project office, that's Bill Curtis and Meg also there. The leadership, Stan Ruttenberg was leading these programs in the early 90s. And then Bill Curtis, active until 92, or maybe a little bit after that. Bill Bonner was appointed the first director of UOP in 1992. Early programs. So just a quick summary, just to remind everybody, Unidata, formed at Wisconsin in a university meeting, and this is a program to support research, and I don't see a clock up here. How am I doing, Bill? Nobody else has a clock either. We never wear watches anymore. Okay, so I was a professor. We had fax maps, and it was a horrible thing to try and teach weather forecasting with that kind of stuff. And we were the first Unidata small university in the country, and it just revolutionized how we were teaching. JOS, and by the way, Dave Fulker, as Tony mentioned, was the first director. JOS, of course, was to create a central place for planning and executing complex field campaigns. Formed 1981. I thought I had visited a lot of countries on behalf of UCAR, but Karen just blew me totally out of the water. She had visited 103 countries. And the COMET program, you know my history with that, but the university community, all of us, were asked to help modernize the Weather Service. I was just astonished to see, Liz, that we have 500,000 registered users. We had a big party when we had 100,000. Yeah, so. And VSP, interesting history with this that Meg reminded me, and Rick Anthony did also, that originally initiated by Bill Bonner and Rick Anthony through an MOU with UCAR and the Weather Service, and the idea was to tap into the expertise in the university faculty in a process that was truly competitive. They now have 15 agencies using the program, and I think that's really wonderful. What's in a name? First of all, we were just UCAR and the UCAR programs. Then we did UCAR Office of Programs, UOP. I thought that was really boring, and I volunteered UCAR Education and Research Programs, which would have been pronounced ERP. Now, I don't understand the problem with that, right? but it didn't go very far. So the evolution was UOP to UCP. And then COMET was originally from the Comfort Committee, the Committee for Operational Meteorology Forecaster, something research and training. I forget what the O is. And so then it became COMET. Bill Bonner tried hard as he could to make everybody say COMET, right? But nobody would. So it finally became COMET. I think the interesting, CUPS was the original JOS, then became JCPPO. Don't ask me what these stand for. And then it became JICCPO, which was commonly pronounced JICKY-POO. And everybody wasn't liking that. And Rick Anthony's suggested JOS, and somebody quickly went with that. Unidata's boring. They've been the same name the whole time, right? So, and the Visiting Scientist Program at JOS recently have combined, under Hannah, I understand, to CPAESS. I didn't actually try and figure out what that was. Okay? Early key people, a few in the room. Bill Bonner, Dave Folker. I don't know if Dave is here, but, oh, there he is. I'm sorry. I didn't notice Dave. Karen couldn't make it. So you can see some of the people that were kind of key in the early, and I wanted to include Rick Anthony's because these programs would not have happened if he weren't on board, and he really made it happen, and I think we should thank him for that. So the community today, I just want to point out that the community is bigger than it ever was, and the big addition, from my point of view, is the private sector. New agencies are using UCAR programs. International organizations are using our programs. The COMET program is one example I know. University communities, UCAR members, but the private sector is a big part of it. They employ roughly 40,000 people, I've estimated, and have a $7 or $8 billion budget. And so they are a big player. So what have we learned from our early history? 3 minutes. The community that we serve has grown and diversified. As I said, the private sector is 6 or 7 or maybe even $8 billion industry. And I wrote 30,000. I think I should have said 40,000 scientists and engineers. But service remains paramount. So when you think about what is a UCAR program, if it doesn't have a component that's serving, should it really be here, I think is important. And you need to accept that programs can come and go. We shouldn't be disappointed if a program comes, we tried it, it was risky, it was entrepreneurial, and it went away. You have to create a safe place for this to happen. So I encourage risk-taking and innovation. I think that these are very important things to think about, and don't be nervous about it, even though you will be, and evolve. No program from the early 90s looks the same today. You have to evolve. You don't evolve, you're gone, I would think. So thank you very much. I don't know if you want to have any questions and discussion.
Great talk, Tim. I just wanted to add, I think that UNAVCO was also responsible for SUMINET, right? Whenever they were part of UCP, or UOP at the time.
I think that is correct.
Yeah.
Hi, Dave.
That was primarily UNAVCO doing the operation with Unity. One things that I
All right, thank you.